G'day ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Scott at E49 here with you from the Australis Tabletop Wargaming Network, and today's video is the next installment in the Warhammer 40,000 for the New Guy series. Now this video we're going to be finishing off our look at the Tau Empire by looking at the next steps options to be building on the starting the army options from the previous video. Now, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone that has subscribed onto the channel as of late. We really appreciate your support here on the network, and we're excited to keep on bringing you the great content you've been seeing for the past year or two. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's jump into it. Alrighty everyone, so as per usual, the next steps video, they always follow directly on from the start in the army, where I discuss another couple of options for how you can expand upon your initial Tau Empire forces from the combat patrol level of gaming up to the incursion level for your games. Now, like the previous next steps videos I've done in this series, the different options that I discuss will all be around 250 Australian dollars, and when they are combined with the starting the army options, their goal is to be less than $500 total. Now, the kits that I have selected for the options are, in my opinion, the best kits to complement the initial options with more of a thematic focus rather than a competitive focus, so please bear that in mind. So the first one we're going to be looking at is the Combat Patrol's next steps. Now for this option, I've selected 3 kits that I believe will complement the variety in the initial Combat Patrol. And this is 2 boxes of 16 Kroot Carnivores and a box of 3 Crisis Battle Suits. Now this option comes to $55 for each of the 16 Kroot Carnivores and $125 for the 3 Crisis Battle Suits, with 6 drones coming to a total of $235. Now, depending on how you equip the Crisis Battle Suits, you'll be able to get a rough maximum of 487 points from this option. There are a few pros to adding this option onto the Combat Patrol, in my opinion. With the additional 2 troops choices, you'll actually legally be able to make a battalion detachment for your incursion level games, expanding that force. Now, I will note, we are just looking at the core rulebook for army construction in these videos as well. The Crisis Battle Suits will give your army a good mobility unit, as well as a wide variety of different ranged weaponry that you're able to employ onto the battlefield to fulfill any role that you're wanting them to do, as we've also previously discussed in the starting the army option regarding Crisis Suits. Now, if you are wanting to, you could actually split the Kroot up to 2 units of 10 and 1 unit of 12 to actually allow you to have 4 troop options within your army to make use of. However, there are a few cons that go along with adding this to the Combat Patrol. Outside of the Crisis Suits, this option doesn't really add much in terms of firepower to the Combat Patrol. This option does also add the least amount of points onto the Combat Patrol out of some of these other options. Now, when you add this option onto the Combat Patrol's maximum of 545 points, it gives you roughly 1,025 points to make use of for your incursion level games. Cost-wise, when you combine both these kits with the cost of the Combat Patrol, it comes to a total of $445, which is the cheapest of the 3 options that I'm suggesting in these videos. Overall, if you want a variety of different units whilst continuing a focus on battle suits and saving a decent amount of money for the points that you're getting, this is likely the option you're going to want to continue with. Next up, we're going to be looking at the instead of option 1 next steps kits. Now for this option, I've continued to focus on the alternative deployment methods by selecting the following 6 kits: an ethereal and hover drone, 2 boxes of 16 Kroot Carnivores, 2 boxes of 3 stealth suits with 1 drone, and then 2 tactical drones as well. Now the cost of these kits is $49 for the ethereal and hover drone, $55 for each of the boxes of 16 Kroot Carnivores, $42 for each box of the 3 stealth suits with the 1 drone, and $20 for the 2 tactical drones, coming to a total of $243. Now, depending on how you equip the stealth battle suits and the drones themselves, you can get a rough maximum of about 507 points to make use of. Now, there are a few pros when it comes to this option. You'll be able to get an additional HQ as well as 2 or 3 troop choices, depending on how you split up the Kroot, to be able to legally use a battalion detachment for your incursion level games. The stealth battle suits will allow you to forward deploy either anti-infantry or a mix of anti-infantry and anti-tank weaponry, which will make up for their lack of range. You'll be able to make use of the extra drones to provide mark light support to your units or shield protection to your other units, like the Ethereal on Hover Drone, for example. Maybe give it 2 shield drones, just for a bit of extra protection. And as I've already mentioned, you can split those 2 units of 16 Kroot up into 3 units of Kroot, 1 being of 12, 2 being of 10, so you're able to have more units to get across the table and cover objectives during your games. However, there are a few cons with going this option as well. Whilst this does add some firepower to the starting the army portion, it only adds some amount of anti-infantry and possibly anti-tank firepower, depending on how you build the stealth suits. The rest of it is more just extra troops, extra bodies on the battlefield, trying to get objectives, using them as screening units, things like that. This option does require a lot more consideration where you apply your firepower due to the limited amount that you'll be able to have at your disposal during your games. There isn't a lot of variety in terms of kits to work with in this option, as well as you'll be getting 2 lots of duplicates in this option. Now, when you add this option onto the starting the armies portion of 475 points, it comes to 982 points to make use of for your incursion level games. Cost-wise, when you combine these kits with the starting the army portion of the instead of option 1, it comes to a total of $491. Now, overall, if you like the idea of having some heavy-hitting firepower as well as a good variety of different units, this might be the option for you. And then the final option we're going to be looking at is the instead of option 2 next steps, where I've selected 3 different kits to continue the focus on battle suits, where we have got a commander in a battle suit, 16 Kroot Carnivore, and 3 Crisis battle suits with 3 drones. Now, the cost of these kits is $85 for the commander in battle suit, $55 for the 16 Kroot Carnivores, and $125 for the 3 Crisis suits with the 6 drones, coming to a total of $265. Now, depending on how you equip both the commander and the crisis battle suits, you can actually get up to a rough maximum of 566 points to make use of. So there are going to be quite a few pros with going with this option as well. The crisis battle suits and the commander are both extremely versatile in terms of the weapons that they can take, whether you want them to be anti-infantry, anti-tank, or a mixture of both, as well as the drone support they can take and the signature war suit systems that the commander is able to take as well. You can choose to combine the 2 units of 3 crisis suits together to make them a single unit of 6, or you can choose to keep them separate as 2 units of 3, and maybe being a bit more specialized with each unit, so saying one's a bit more anti-tank, one's a bit more anti-infantry, for example. The commander will be a force multiplier for your crisis battle suits, allowing him to buff them, to improve their firepower and help them out a bit more on the battlefield. With the extra 16 Kroot and the commander, you'll be able to legally field a battalion detachment to use for your incursion level games by taking the previous 16 Kroot and this 16 Kroot and going, okay, we're going to make 2 units of 10 and a unit of 12. However, there are a few cons to going with this option as well. Outside of the Ethereal and the Commander, you'll be purchasing the exact same units twice for each part of your army, which does mean there's not a lot of variety to work with or use in your force unless you equip them differently. To make the most of the Crisis Battlesuits and the Commander, you're likely going to want to magnetize them so that you can change up their loadout when you want to test different weapons, when you want to play with different combinations, which can lead to some tricky modeling situations, and it is a tricky modeling technique to learn, so be careful and practice on some sprue before doing it on any models in terms of magnetizing, so you know which way the polarity is going. But we'll likely have a hobby tutorial on the network at some point in the near future covering off on magnetization, as I love magnetizing stuff, so I'd love to bring you a tutorial for that in the future. The Commander and the Crisis Battlesuit are going to be the units that you rely on the most in your games. Out of all of the 3 options, this one has got the least amount of models that you get from each of the kits that have been selected. Now, when you do combine this option with the starting the armies portion of 476 points, you come to a combined total of 1,042 points to make use of in your incursion level games. Now, when you combine the total cost of the starting the army options and the next steps, it comes to $494, which makes this the most expensive of the 3 options to go with. Overall, if you're a fan of Crisis battle suits and the variety that they'll allow you to have in terms of their firepower, then this is likely the option for you to go with. Now again, if I was to start a Tau Empire army from scratch with just the knowledge in these videos, again, I would still stick with the combat patrol and the next steps option for that combat patrol, as it's going to provide the greatest variety of units to make use of and test out, whilst being the cheapest of the three options, particularly because Tau Empire have got a high cost to the points you get ratio. Now this video is the last part of our look at the Tau Empire in the For the New Guys series, and I hope that you've enjoyed learning about the Tau Empire, the rules, the lore, and how to start collecting them as an army, as I've enjoyed researching about them and bringing you this information, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty everyone, well I hope that you did enjoy today's video looking at the next steps options for the Tau Empire. It's been great to look at them and present them as an army that you could potentially start with and how to best go about starting them as well. Now if you do have any feedback or any other comments you want to convey to us here at the network, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below and we will get back to you with our responses and have a bit more of a discussion there as well. And if you haven't already and you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you're able to be notified when we're releasing more content here on the network throughout this year. And if you do want to have a bit more of a live discussion or catch the content that we are creating live, then feel free to find us over on Twitch, where we do stream quite frequently throughout the week, but you'll need to be in the Discord or following our other social media pages to stay up to date with what we are bringing on the network each and every week. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.